Hi everyone, I'm Ferd and welcome to my video. Recently I rebuilt a small engine for a lawnmower and I made my own sump gasket for it. That part of the video got a lot of attention. So I thought I would make a video on making a gasket so I could give a lot more detail about that particular thing that I was doing. I'm working on an Onan V-twin 24 horsepower engine. Pretty good size one. And the gasket that I'm needing is the sump gasket. The engine's pretty old, so this part's been discontinued. Can't find it from Onan, Cummins, Robin Subaru, nowhere. But you can find this gasket on eBay, and a couple of the outlet stores will have them in their new old stock. But they want like $60 for one of these things. I'm not paying $60 for one of these gaskets. And you'll see why. I'm going to make my own gasket for it. I'm going to show you how I do it, the tools that I use to make it, and it's going to cost less than $10 to do all of this, unless you had to buy some of the tools. And it may be a little bit more, but they're tools that you can use later on to make all your gaskets for whatever you need. I want to thank all my subscribers, my old ones, my new ones. If you haven't subscribed, join the family. The channel's growing. If you like the video, you want to see more, hit that notification bell. I'm putting a lot of them up there, and you'll get notified when I do it. Here we go. Let's make a gasket for this Onan engine and enjoy the video. All right, I got to make a gasket for this sump. Some of the tools that I'm using. I got this big old pair of scissors. Shears, if you want to call them that. Normally I would use one of these on the smaller sumps, but these are pretty good size holes, so I'm going to be using these punches. Pick them up at the Harbor Freight, $10, 9 different sizes of them. I got a little hammer to hit on my punches with, and I'm going to be using some carbon paper. Normally you can just lay a nice heavy piece of paper on there and just kind of use your fingernails and go around the edges and get the shape of it. It's kind of crude because you got sagging in the middle. They usually don't line up well. This is extra large, so I've got to do it a different way. I've got a piece of cardboard, come from an Amazon box. And then I've got some wrapping paper. This is fairly thin, so I'm going to give this a try first, this really thin paper. And I'm going to transfer this shape onto the paper that's on this. I've got it stretched tight, taped off here in the back, so when I'm holding it upside down, this paper is not sagging in the middle. So I should get a pretty accurate pattern of this. So what I need to do first here on this one is I got to get through that rod that's sticking up. So I'm kind of line this up to where I'm going to be able to cover everything. And I'm just going to give it a little push there, like that. There's my hole. And then I'm going to take this punch and I'm going to punch a hole through it. Okay, now we should be able to set this thing down over top of it, just like that. Now I don't want this thing moving around. I'm going to come over here on this side close to me, and I'm going to take this contact paper, and I'm just going to put it right there. I got a little toothbrush. This is smooth plastic, and find the edge here, and I'm just going to rub that real like that and find a hole. Let's see what we got. Pull it out, and then here we see we got a pattern started here. Here's two of the holes. I want to put a bolt down through there to try to secure this thing. If it wasn't for that, I'd put one here on each side. I'd do this one and then do another one on the other side or down on one of these ends so this thing isn't moving around on me. I'm going to punch a hole in here and use a bolt to secure this thing down. So let me get that going. And if you really want a nice gasket, just take your time like this. There's me a hole. I got this level over here to keep the thing from rocking. Took some masking tape and wrapped it around the end of my bolt so it fits a little tighter down in that hole. Hopefully it doesn't make my hole in the pattern too big, but now it's pretty secure. I want this side facing up. So I want to pull this out. And I'll lay another one right down here. Okay, our paper's all the way around it. You can use anything. Wooden dowel rod. Just something that's round. Maybe plastic and smooth enough to glide over the top of this thing. So I'm pushing down, starting over here by that, and I want to feel here to try to stay centered on top of the sump so I don't cause it to bow in the middle. And here I found myself pushing in the middle, and man, you get a sag and it just throws everything off all the way around. I want that gasket to be nice and flat on there. Okay, let's see what we got. Looking good. Just need to highlight those holes a little bit better. It's these holes over here that I need. Use my nail on this. Okay, we've got us a pattern. It's always a good idea to try to save as much of the old gasket as you can. If you've got the whole gasket, that's perfect. You don't have to go through all of this. The only part of that gasket that I was actually able to salvage, the rest of it I literally had to scrape off of the two pieces. But you can see here how everything is lining up real nice. On this particular sump, you'll notice this one here is a lot bigger. And the reason why is because these two holes right here are oil passages. And there's an O-ring that's involved in it. That's going to be in my other video when I put this together. This is about making this gasket. This here is going to be a little bit larger hole than all of these right here. Trim the folds off of it. I don't want to cut this thing out quite yet, but I want to trim around it. That up here, and then I want to roll out my gasket material. Now this stuff's going to want to roll back up on you. Okay, I want to tape it down. For something to cut on, this is a piece of acrylic that I got from a sign company. I'm going to go ahead and cut the excess off of this end of it. Okay, this is a straight cut across the bottom, so I've came real close to where that line is. It just saves me an extra cut. I'll line that up, make sure that I've got enough material underneath it all the way around. I think it's pretty close. Tape this gasket material down, get it as flat as I can. And all of this excess material in here, we can roll it back up and use it for smaller gaskets later. Don't want it to move. That looks good. I could actually see a good outline of this gasket, but the camera just wasn't picking it up. So I've went around and I've traced the outside lines of it with a pencil, and it looks like it's okay. So we can move on. I've got my pattern laid out over top of my gasket material. I've marked here that these are going to be 1/2-inch holes. From the gasket that I was actually able to save had one of those 1/2-inch holes left on it. So I can use that to get as close as I possibly can to the original hole that was on that gasket. That looks close. I'm lined up with this one, that one, and that one. I'm going to go ahead and draw this one out again. This one helps so much when you've got that gasket. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark this one. And then this one here, I've got this much of it. So I can mark that. Come over here, I'm going to flip it upside down and see if I can't go backwards with it. Okay, I'm lined up with this one, that one. Okay, I measured the holes in the original gasket, and they're a 5/16. And I'm going to hope that everything that I've done is close enough to where I can use that size of a punch. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to punch all of my 5/16 holes out, all the way through that gasket. And then I'll use my half on these two right here. Now, what I can do is I'll peel this up, and I'm going to test it and make sure that those holes line up. If they don't, I'm going to go back into it and I'm going to make a 3/8 hole. But I want to leave this pattern taped to the gasket. So let me go check that. I'll be right back. Alright, I checked it. Everything is lining up real good. All the holes are lining up. All I have to do is cut this thing out. And I got a brand new blade in this. So we'll start up here. Excuse me if I get my big head in the way. But I'll make my first cut. Try to stay right outside that line. Keep it beefed up as much as I can. Straight across there. Take your time. Don't get in a big hurry. Where it loops in like that, I'm just going to leave that go and just come straight across. Now, for those of you that have stuck around this long to watch this much of the video, I got some bonus information for you that everybody else is going to miss out on. But anyway, I'm cutting out this gasket, and I'm not really that worried about all those fancy little cuts around the holes on the outside or whatever. Although it may look like this is a nice looking gasket, which it probably is, it's not going to be as beautiful as that one that you see them stamp out from the factory. Like that first cut there where I'm going around those two holes that are together. I'm not worried about that little dip in it. Take your time. Use a sharp, like I did, a brand new blade. On this material, it was too thick for that X-Acto knife, so I used a utility knife all the way around it. And it did a fairly good job. About the gasket itself, this is a fiber rubber type gasket. And the reason I chose this gasket isn't because it was just the cheapest one out there. It really wasn't. It was close to the size of gasket that actually came off of it. Taking in consideration that the one on it was smashed, I still found the thicker parts of it on the outside that I could measure. It is a little bit thicker, but because it's a different material than what was actually on there, it's going to smash down probably to the same thickness that their more plastic type gasket originally was. The reason why this is so important is because there's a specification for the crankshaft in play or the crankshaft clearance. That would be the distance inside the crankcase that the crankshaft has that clearances the top and bottom of the inside of the case. And the end play would be measured with a dial indicator. You could set it up on the outside and see how much jiggle you've got on the crankshaft. A lot of these small engines have a specification for the amount of end play that a crankshaft should have, and they're determined by the thickness of the gasket. So that's very important. You want to get very, very close to what the size of that gasket is, and kind of an important thing. So let me finish cutting this thing up, and I'll see you here in a few minutes. Let's see what kind of gasket we end up. Let's see if it fits. There we go. And there's a lot more gaskets there. Little carburetor gaskets. And then this paper, we're done with it. Peel that off of there and reveal your surprise underneath. Got us a gasket. Now I'm going to bring it over here to see if this thing fits. Okay, let's see what we got here. All the holes match up really, really nice. Get it down flat. It's lining up beautiful. So here, I just saved myself 50 bucks on one of these gaskets. Well, if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And I hope it makes you want to come back and see more. Hit that like and subscribe button. Join the channel. Join the family. Making this gasket was like making 50 bucks an hour. These things can save you a lot of money over the course of time and save you time having to wait to get the gasket from somebody. So it's really something easy that you can do. Just got to find that right gasket material and use a sharp knife. While using that sharp knife, you want to be really, really careful. Safety first. And have fun.